species rich. Because something extraordinary is happening here. These natural habitats remain intact only because humans use and shape them. A new pact with nature. Ecuador's population is growing year by year and pushing nature further and further back. Inhabitants and conservationists are looking for a way to preserve the forest and at the same time to profit from it. Is it possible to save the last of the cloud forests? There's water here in abundance. The western side of the Andes in Ecuador is one of the world's rainiest regions. It's an extreme climate to which the flora and fauna have adapted. Hundreds of tree varieties compete for space on the steep slopes. On their trunks and branches, they bear hanging gardens, bromeliads and other plants that draw water and nutrients from the air. The plant world is a feast laid out for countless animals. Capuchin monkeys tuck into leaves and fruit. And bizarre predators make rich pickings. Whether centipedes, frogs, or birds, hardly any habitat feeds such a variety of species as the primeval forests of the Andes. There's many a small paradise which move in from the Pacific Ocean, get caught in the mountains, as around the town of Mindo. The hills here are still green and full of trees. In Ecuador, that's the exception. Mindo's natural world attracts a very special species. Tourists looking for jungle adventures. The local inhabitants have grasped this. Henry Patiño is a small-scale entrepreneur. He owns a simple lodging house in the town. He offers his guests a very special thrill. Riding the rapids on the River Mindo. It's not only Henry Patiño who benefits from the tourists, but his crew as well. Youngsters from the village earn themselves a little when they accompany the visitors safely down the river. This mixture of nature and action goes down well with a lot of younger tourists. Mindo long since stopped being a sleepy Andean village. Year in, year out, this place attracts over 50,000 tourists from Ecuador and the rest of the world. In recent years, it's grown from a village into a small town. Mindo's Mariposario, the butterfly garden, offers close-up encounters with marvelous creatures. The staff here breed 25 varieties of butterfly, including the most colorful and shimmering species of this region. From caterpillar to butterfly, tourists can experience the fluttering diversity of the tropical beauties.
No me los cojas. En la práctica.
Mindo has learned to turn tropical nature into a lucrative business model.
In this
community, 90% of the people live from tourism. Directly or indirectly, it's an important economic factor. Shops, restaurants, hotels, and the nature guides. It's all very positive for us. Many tourists come here above all for our world-famous Mindo Nambillo Forest Reserve.
This community has been protecting its cloud forest on its own initiative for over 30 years and making a good living from it. That makes Mindo a trailblazer in Ecuador. The great variety of plant life attracts flying gemstones. Hummingbirds are truly airborne acrobats. They hover like mini helicopters. They're the only birds who can even fly backwards. Hummingbirds are constantly on the lookout for flowers. That's where the birds tank up on their fuel, sweet nectar. There are over 20 varieties of hummingbird in Mindo alone. Altogether, over 400 species of bird live in the town's vicinity, a world record. Mindo's example shows that mankind and nature need not be in opposition to each other. Forest conservation benefits not only the hummingbirds and other animals, but the community's human population of over 2,000 as well. But what functions so well in Mindo, or the forests are being cleared for agriculture. The trees have to make way for fields and pasture land. Over 90% of the cloud forests have already been destroyed in this way. The loss of the forests endangers thousands of animal and plant species.
Forest. So off we went and marveled at the birds, the orchids and the butterflies. Then suddenly we heard a chainsaw. Someone was felling trees.
Most of the people who live in the valley are farmers. Many of them see land on which trees are growing with no cattle grazing as worthless. Giovanni Honora wants to help them find a way out of the dilemma. Can agriculture and nature exist side by side in the Toachi Valley region? At one time, Cesar also cut down more and more trees for more and more pasturage. But over the years, he's gradually become a kindred spirit, for Giovanni Onora, because he also harbored a love of nature, of the plants, and of the multiplicity of animals in the forests. He wasn't happy to see them all disappearing. The two friends made a pact. The missionary supported Cesar and his family and arranged for the education of his 9 children. In return, Cesar promised to help Giovanni. Together they wanted to save the forest, or what was left of it. But would it be possible to recruit other local farmers for their dream? Cesar opened doors for his friend to meet the people of the area. Today they're visiting a small sugar factory. Most of the families here earn just a few $100s a year from sugar, vegetables and milk. Most just manage to scrape by. In the large vats, the farmers boil down the juice of the sugar cane. The result is the panela, brown cane sugar. But the work is hard and doesn't pay much. For most of the farmers, though, nature conservation seems like the distant notion of rich people in the city. But many farmers could certainly imagine doing a deal with Giovanni and selling him stretches of land which yield particularly low returns. Bits of land always remain unused. Especially on steep slopes, Giovanni Onora found remnants of the old cloud forests. He collected money among friends in Europe and bought parcels of land like this from the farmers.
At the time, all the red tape and bureaucracy. And that's how it went on and on. The forest grew and grew, and in the end, I fell in love with it.
Piece by piece, Giovanni Onora managed over decades to put together a private conservation area. More than 1,500 hectares of land for leafcutter ants and many other species. The biologist named his forest the Otonga Reserve, after a giant earthworm that lives here. A foundation of the same name became the official owner of the reserve. Giovanni made Cesar his administrator. Don Cesar now oversees and protects this natural paradise. He plants trees on the purchased pasturage. He lays down paths, thereby opening up the forest for biologist Giovanni Onora. But Giovanni the species is poisonous. But that's never interested many local inhabitants who just killed every snake that crossed their path.
Escamas grandes y tiene ojos con pupila redonda, entonces no es venenosa.
This one is not poisonous. It's completely harmless. You can't even really bite. Its teeth are tiny.
Tienen pequeños dientecitos.
But he didn't just want people to look after snakes, but to stop hunting in the protected forest.
That wasn't easy for me. The people were used to hunting wild boar, birds and armadillos, and now they were expected to give it up. You're a nasty person, they told me.
It wasn't nastiness, but love of nature that motivated Cesar and Giovanni. But that didn't really convince the locals. Many of them couldn't see what use the reserve was to them. However fast...
Tiene las venas y patas largas para brincar. Esto es para brincar. Aquí está.
The cloud forest had to produce benefits for its neighbours. That became increasingly clear. Preferably work and an income. If that didn't happen, the project had no future.
You can buy anything with money, that's easy. But changing people's hearts is the hardest thing of all.
Whether Giovanni the monk was to prove successful depended less on help from heaven above than on people seeing sense in nature protection throughout the country. His reserve is about 2 hours by car from the capital, Quito. Here too, where now the world's highest lying capital is expanding, used to be dense cloud forest. It's hard to believe that this was once a wild, natural landscape where large predators used to hunt. But this is still the case right on Quito's doorstep. Just 30 kilometers away, along a narrow path at an altitude of 2,800 meters, lies the small village of Yunguilla. Today, the villagers are holding a crisis meeting. Ecologist Santiago Molina has come from Quito because there's a problem with an animal inhabitant of the district. A predator, totally unexpected so close to a major city, is causing upset in Yunguilla. The men show Santiago Molina a shaky cell phone video. A large Andes bear is surprised in the process of killing a cow.
Sí, esa yo creo que una de las soluciones que eso de pronto podríamos ir pensando es eso, en tener corrales, ¿no? Porque vimos aquí.
An unpleasant surprise for Santiago Molina, because the predator is an old acquaintance, a bear called Jumbo.
Jumbo es un oso que fue encontrado no muy lejos.
Jumbo is a bear that was found close by, abandoned by his mother. It was obvious that if we didn't rescue him, he would die. He was in a bad way, with fly eggs under his skin, which showed that his mother had left him some days earlier. So we decided to rescue him in order to release him again later on here in Yunguilla. He stayed in a nursery for 2 years. And in 2015, we took him back to the place where we found him. He's the first bear to be successfully released back into the wild in Ecuador.
Jumbo's return to Yunguilla was a media event locally. It took a lot of manpower to lift the by then fully grown bear into a large wooden crate. Jumbo's last stage in captivity. But how would the other bears in the area react to Jumbo's return?
In this
case, the other bears accepted him because he was family. Oh, I know you. So for 2 years, everything went well. Jumbo survived, together with the other bears. But then, 4 months ago, he found a dead cow nearby.
Cows sometimes stumble in the steep meadows. Some fall and are so badly injured that they die. The cadaver is then an easy target for bears like Jumbo. Once they have a taste for the meat, some move on to attack living cows. Understandably, that doesn't please the Yunguilla farmers. But in the meantime, the villagers have come to see that they too can profit from the bears.
La población de osos también sean una oportunidad.
Bears can also offer prospects for tourism. Visitors can see the animals here, living in their natural environment.
Venir a visitar los osos en su estado natural.
To go bear watching, people need to know how many bears there are and where they are most likely to be found. So again and again, Molina joins guides from Yunguilla on short expeditions.
¿Cómo te va? ¿Cómo te va? Ya, súbete.
But it's not easy to locate bears in the wild. The search takes Molina and his guide Edison deeper and deeper into the forest. But today they don't see any. The trek isn't wasted though. Modern technology comes to the rescue. Molina and Edison have laid automatic photo and film traps everywhere. They're triggered by the smallest movement. And capture whatever's in front of the lens. There are a lot of deer around Yunguilla. And even pumas. Again and again the cameras capture Andes bears as well.
Sí, buenas fotos.
Because of their distinctive marking, they're also known as spectacled bears. Even if some don't have spectacles at all. Small predatory cats also appear in front of the camera, ocelots. And time after time, pumas. It was a surprise for the biologists just how many large predators go hunting so close to humans. The conservationists attract the animals to their camera traps with a vanilla scent. Some bears love the perfume so much that they can't get enough of the bait. The biologists were able to identify over 60 bears.
Creo que tanto para nosotros los investigadores como también para la gente
For us scientists, and also for the people of Yunguilla, it's good to know that we have bears here. It's an attraction that helps people get to know the area and the forest. If they're very lucky, they see a bear. If not, they can see one from the camera traps. The spectacled bear is the only bear in South America. Everybody would be happy to see an Andes bear, or at least to be there, where the bears live.
The bears and the beauties of nature have already changed life in Yunguilla. The locals rent rooms to tourists and would like to see a lot more visitors. But things have to develop at a gentle pace and benefit as many villagers as possible. This vegetable garden, for example, is part of the sustainable tourism concept of the village. Carrots and other vegetables are processed on the spot. In the new restaurant that all the villagers have built together. The number of tourists coming to Yunguilla is still manageable. Most are on day trips from Quito. Around 5,000 visitors a year are already providing the people of Yunguilla with a bigger income than farming. Young women from the community use the milk from the cows to make queso de Yunguilla. The village's own cheese dairy is a thriving business because the tourists now also buy the local products. The locals keep coming up with new ideas. Some of the women process mini papayas and other fruit into jam. A popular souvenir made in Yungia.
Ya es listo.
Todas las personas de la comunidad ahora sí siempre sentimos
All of us in the
ese
community feel
orgullo de
pride.
decir, "Ok, ¿de
When
dónde
someone
eres?
asks,
Yo vivo en
"Where are you from?"
donde estamos
we reply,
haciendo turismo
"I live in Yungia,
donde
where we
estamos
conduct village
conservando los
tourism,
recursos
where we
naturales,
protect
donde estamos
nature, and where we
mejorando la
improve
calidad
people's
de vida
quality
de
of
las
life."
personas, ¿no? Entonces, yo creo que todas las
That's why I
personas que
believe
estamos aquí
everyone
en
who
Yungia
lives
y
here in
estamos,
Yungia and
de
works
alguna
on the
manera al
project
frente del proyecto,
is very
pues
proud of
estamos
what we're
siempre
doing
muy
here.
orgullosos de lo que estamos haciendo ahora, ¿no?
The initial successes of sustainable tourism are enabling Yungia to become ever more involved in conservation. Hardly anyone is still felling trees. Rather, Yungia is reforesting the forest. The seedlings for this are grown in the village tree nursery. Santiago Molina is happy to get hands-on when plants are involved. It's the community that's important for most of the locals, so there's never a shortage of helping hands. The long-term plan is to turn the pastures where the cows still graze today back into a cloud forest. Biologists used to think it was impossible to bring the forest back, but it can be done if people lend a hand. But it's not enough simply to wait for the trees to spread themselves. The first trees have to be painstakingly planted out. It's exclusively indigenous species that get this startup support. When they're bigger, other seeds brought in by birds and bats can germinate in their shadow. For that to happen on this meadow will take a few years yet. In the last 20 years, Yungia has reforested 3,000 hectares of land. What looks like virgin jungle is in fact recreated forest, not yet as species-rich as a primal cloud forest. But already pumas and bears are hunting here again. Santiago Molina is pleased with developments to date. His dream is that other communities will follow Yungia's example, so that isolated areas of forest will grow together again into a large-scale habitat for the bears. This would guarantee the long-term survival of the small bear population living so close to the major city of Quito. When the fruits of a species of wild avocado ripen, it's the best time for biologists and tourists to observe Andes bears in the wild. They climb the trees to get to the small avocados. Sometimes a branch has to make way. And then the feast is there for the taking. Santiago Molina and the village of Yunguilla have already done a lot towards protecting the Andes bears. But there are other animals which people can't help on their own. In Quito, Ecuador's capital, specialists are using modern methods in a bid to save a whole... Morley Reed from Britain is an expert on lizards, snakes, newts and frogs. He's returning today from an expedition to remote cloud forests. He'll be presenting his findings to the director of the Rambatu Frog Research Center. Ecuador is a paradise for amphibians. Nowhere else is home to as many different species. But this diversity is under threat. Giovanni Honora is still looking for ways to protect his Otonga reserve long term. But the people of the region also need to profit from his cloud forest. So Giovanni is counting on paying guests. Helped by Italo, the son of his administrator Cesar, he's building a small guest house. Giovanni employs only local workers. He has a very special clientele in mind for his guest house. He hopes to let the 30 rooms to students, then be directly on the hotel's doorstep.
Este hotel con sus huéspedes dará un pequeño...
The hotel and its guests will yield enough to safeguard the forest. We need a watchman, someone to keep the paths open, someone to make sure the trees aren't felled, someone to receive the guests. That creates jobs and at the same time produces a profit to conserve the jungle.
Estaba bien ya, pero le di la bilis de las...
Oh, mira, mire, don César, qué bellezas. Qué belleza, aquí estamos en el paraíso.
Giovanni Honora uses the night for his own scientific research. His speciality is insects. With a bright light and a white sheet, he can attract moths.
Mira las ciclocéfalas. Mira, una acá, una allá, que tiene ojos.
Ah, las...
No other animal group in the cloud forest has as many species as insects.
There are an estimated 60,000 different butterflies and moths here.
Most of them are dependent on just a few plants. A healthy cloud forest, though, doesn't benefit just the insects, but the humans living nearby as well. The trees capture the water out of the clouds and purify it. Clean water has long been taken for granted in rainy Ecuador, but intact rainforests are crucial as a natural supplier of pure